Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Winnipeg Business Podcast, where I bring in Winnipeg's finest businesses to share who they are, what they do, what makes them unique, and what you should look for when dealing with somebody within their industry. So without further ado, let's go. I'm your host, James, and with me today is Rob Reed from Bison Fire Protection. And he will be our expert today in the fire safety industry. So without further ado, Rob Reed, everybody.
Hello, everyone. As James said, I'm with Bison Fire Protection. Been in the industry now since 2001, but I really appreciate you having me on today to be able to talk about some of the important things that are going on in the industry and things we can do to make the world a safer place, which is the purpose of Bison.
For everyone, you just want to make sure that your clients are safe, that your tenants are safe, like just safety of other people.
100%. I was talking to someone earlier today, and I told them that, when our equipment is working properly, even the firefighters don't have to enter the building because everything was put out before they came in.
Oh, really?
So, we're not, to a certain degree, we're preventing firefighters from harm and damage, right, that could possibly happen.
I didn't know. Wow. That's so cool.
Now, that doesn't mean that happens 100% of the time, but like I say, if our stuff works right, we are saving a lot of things because it's prevention.
Yes. For sure, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to get into 5 different topics here, 5 different points, and I've got a whole bunch of them, but I'm going to start with one, and this one's kind of a serious one, that out in Calgary earlier this year, there was a company that was charged for not using certified people in their work. Which means that either their fire alarm people didn't have CFAA, which is Canadian Fire Alarm Association certification, or they didn't have, say, kitchen suppression certification for, the different restaurant systems, or maybe they weren't using fitters for, sprinkler work, that sort of thing. In the end, there were 65 charges laid. This is a big one, and keep in mind it may be a Calgary company, but this reached all through Saskatchewan. They had offices there. They also had an office in Brandon, and they were doing work here in Winnipeg. So this is very far-reaching. Now, it's also a bigger deal when you think that not only was the company charged, right? 10 of their technicians were charged, and their customers were charged. And in some cases, some big-name customers, because in the end, the onus is on the customer to make sure that the company they're hiring to provide fire protection is properly certified. So when things go wrong, because we live in a liability world in fire protection, this goes all the way back up the chain. So when you're using somebody and you're hiring a company to come and do the work, make sure, spend the extra 10, 15 minutes to have them send certifications, send some proof of licenses, all of the different things that we need to be able to show that we are certified, we are trained, and we know what we're doing to be in your office. Because obviously what's happened is in a lot of cases, these guys are throwing out low quotes. People are going, I can't believe this is great. We're getting this great price.
It's an amateur price. That's what it is.
I've often said, pay peanuts, get monkeys.
Yeah.
Well, now, they're not paying peanuts anymore. Those charges, in some cases, are going to be 6 figures. This is a big deal.
So it is more expensive to pay for an amateur. Yeah.
If you get caught, and you think, that's without an incident. That was without a fire. So had there been a fire and insurance walked away, had there been a fire with a death, this would have been litigated for years. Can you imagine? So again, I can't stress enough, make sure who you're allowing in your building is certified to do the work they're doing. Make sure that they're a quality company, similar to yourself.
Yeah.
You want to make sure it's quality company coming in. That is important. And I don't want to beat up on this for a long time, but I can't stress enough how important it is.
Sure, that's a very serious matter.
Absolutely. Now, I've had something else come across my desk, actually just yesterday, and it's called a text fax bulletin. And what it is a recall on fire alarm heat detectors for a particular manufacturer. And so what's going on right now is they are finding that after a certain age, these heat detectors are failing to work. So there's a recall out on them. And again, that's one of those ones where we would be more than happy to come out, have a look at what you got, and support that. We've got a number of customers we're already sitting down with to develop a plan, to look at their buildings, look what they have for these products, and then create a plan to replace them so that they don't have problems. Anyone that wants more information on this is more than welcome to call our office, and we will have our people get back in touch with you and send you a copy of this bulletin. and possibly even set up a time to come out and see you and work on a plan that will support your business. Again, this gets back to, again, you need to make sure your equipment is working and functioning, and if you have a fire and you have one of these faulty heat detectors, your alarm system may not actuate, and if it doesn't actuate, the fire trucks aren't coming, people aren't leaving the building, and you have a problem, again, that is major. So this is something we want to talk about with people, and if you have the questions, again, get in touch with us. We are happy to email this over, send it over. Again, like I said earlier, people are looking for information these days, whether they're looking for certifications, licenses, bulletins, things like this. Email has it to you in minutes. If it takes hours or days to get this information, you should be questioning that.
Yeah.
So, again, we got this text fax bulletin on faulty heat detectors. Please get in touch with us. We're happy to share the information and work with you on it.
So you probably shared that with all your clients, like right away, in minutes, just like you mentioned.
Honest to God, we've got meetings set up with several. I was talking with a very big property management company just this morning about this. Got another very large one. They've got over 300 buildings here in the city, and we're sitting down with them. I think it's tomorrow to develop a plan. So that we understand what they need, how many of these detectors they have spread out throughout their buildings, and what we can do to support them, because this will be a big job for people to have to repair. So, we can't just go in there with a baseball bat and make it happen.
Yeah.
Work with them, like anything else we do with our customers. But the most important thing we're doing for our customers is getting in front of it.
Yes. Prevention is key here.
Yes. As opposed to letting them find out, through the grapevine, or find out after a fire or during a fire. We're getting in front of it, and that's one of the things we do for our people, is we get in front of these issues and make sure that you're aware of what's going on. Again, making the world a safer place.
Yes, for sure. Especially for our tenants, our clients. And it reflects better upon the property management company, would you say?
Yeah,
you're right on top of it.
For sure. Well, it's all about service. It's all about support. I like to think that when I'm dealing with our different clients, that it's more of a partnership.
Yes.
I hate the idea of the
you work for
yeah, exactly, that client customer relationship, supplier. This is a partnership. When you succeed, we succeed.
Yes.
Going on to kind of a next point here, I wanted to talk, especially with winter coming. Winter freeze-ups in the fire business are a big deal, and what happens is, maybe one of the vents isn't working right, or a shutter on, your heating system is closed, and your sprinkler systems are up in an attic, and the pipes freeze. Okay. So you can imagine there's two things going to happen there. One, if you have a fire, the water isn't going to flow. Secondly, when water freezes, pipes burst, but you won't know that till it warms up. As soon as the water starts to melt in those pipes, then the water flows. Now, again, you've got a big problem. Probably an insurance claim and some other issues.
Yeah.
So while it's important to stay ahead of that, this is actually kind of a shout out to the HVAC people out there to make sure that you are getting your systems, taken care of, updated, whatever preventative maintenance that HVAC people do. Because again, I'm not in that business.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I noticed on one of your prior shows, you had the fellow on, the electrician, and he did a great job of talking about how the other services support what he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, this is another one of these, total inclusion for your building, where your HVAC, if it's working correctly, will support your sprinkler systems.
Nice.
Now, in the summertime, you have the same problem, but in reverse. And the two things can happen. High humidity, you want to make sure that your air conditioning is working correctly. Why is that important? High humidity will also, on older systems, fire alarm systems, send them into alarm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You betcha. So again, and this gets back to a comment I've made so many times. Who has a TV from 1985 in their house? Nobody. Not many though, right?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Not much of that left around, right? So why are you, have fire alarm equipment, electronics that are that age or older, saving your life?
Yeah.
So you got to start thinking about when it's time for end of life and upgrades and replacement, migrating to, say, newer types of systems.
I like that analogy though. Yeah, no. stuff from 1985 trying to protect me. Actually, now I'm trying to think about it. That's older than me. So.
Well, and I'm going to say, you probably don't have a TV that old in your house, do you?
We've seen some clients where it's in the basement, but yeah, no, not even
Yeah,
that's for sure.
yeah, for sure, yeah. Normally, I think of fish tanks now.
Yeah, probably.
The other problem we'll run into in high heat areas is it will also overpressurize the sprinkler system, which in some cases can cause sprinkler heads to burst because the buildup of pressure in there. So high heat can be a real problem as well. So again, make sure that your building HVAC systems are working properly because it does affect your fire systems. Another point going forward, regular inspections and maintenance.
Yes.
You know, and you can talk to this too. You go into a place and you clean it once a week.
Mm-hmm.
How easy is it to keep it clean and keep it up to standards? Probably very easy,
Yeah.
right? If you go in there once every 6 months.
Ooh, yeah, no, we won't even take contracts like that because we can't maintain it. Like,
Yeah.
we can't guarantee that it's going to be up to standards.
Absolutely, and we're in the same boat. Yeah, you know, we have to be able to go into a place and work on it and support it, and make sure that the fire alarm is working, make sure that the sprinklers are working, make sure that the extinguishers are going to do what they're supposed to be doing, and or the fire hoses, and they all have different intervals where they need to come in for service. Whether it's, you know, obstruction tests and things like that on the sprinkler systems or flow tests, you know, ringing the bells on the fire alarm system, which is part of the annual inspection, and different things, you know, that go on throughout the point of a year that cause a system to need deficiencies or have deficiencies that need to be repaired. Now, if you don't do that for 5 years, first off, you put your
That's dangerous.
you put a lot of stuff at risk, right? Because as soon as you're past, you're out of your insurance. But beyond that, the buildup of back expense to get everything brought up to date when you do eventually have to bring it up to current standard is far more expensive than maintaining it.
So how often would you say, like, let's say there's viewers out there who haven't had an inspection in a while, how often should they have been getting?
Fire code is annual for most items. Fire alarm is an annual inspection. Emergency lights are annual. Extinguishers are annual. Sprinklers are annual. And then there's other, you know, quarterly inspections on certain parts of the sprinkler systems. There's 5-year obstruction tests. So we go into the inside with a camera, or, you know, take part of the piping down to make sure there's nothing obstructing it. And I could tell you stories about that all day. Some of the stuff we find in there would amaze you. And, you know, but when we get into, say, kitchen suppression systems in restaurants and personal care homes, places like that, it's semi-annual. You know, so commercial kitchens are that way. You know, when we look at different customers, there are different types of fire protection systems, and they need service for different reasons at different times. But at the worst, for inspections, it's annually. Okay. So we need to be coming through your door at least once a year. That keeps you up to fire code, keeps your insurance happy. You know, because again, when we have these problems or one of these recalls like I talked about earlier, we are able to catch these things. You know?
So all you new business owners out there, he just dropped a nice little information bomb on you. So get your place checked.
Yeah, that's a solid gold nugget.
Yeah.
You know, beyond that, we've got a number of different things. So for companies out there that are core certified, and I've been talking to a property management company earlier today that's core certified. And one of the things they were asking about is fire extinguisher training. We do a lot of that as well. And we spend a lot of time teaching people how to use fire extinguishers. Now, we're fortunate that we have a digital system. So a couple of things that come from that. One, if it's 30 below, we're still testing. If it's that beautiful July day when we book it and it turns out to have a thunderstorm that day, then guess what? We're still going ahead because we're doing it right here in the boardroom.
Nice.
And we're doing it in your boardroom, so we don't disrupt your people. You know, that we had this day and they're all planning to come in, and, you know, all the things that go with that, and suddenly we can't because of weather. Now we're doing this inside. The other nice thing about the digital is it's very environmentally friendly. There's no, you know, extinguisher powder flying all over the place. Things that you're burning to create the fire, the fire pans, things like that. And then
you guys have that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's very innovative.
Absolutely, it's really cool, and it's a great way, you know, to teach people to use extinguishers, and it shows people, you know, so that they don't panic. And it's said so many times, the difference between action and panic is training.
Yes.
If we spend a few minutes training people, right, and the course is an hour and 15 minutes, depending upon questions, classroom time, and then some hands-on with the machine and all that. But by the time they're all said and done, they're very confident in how to use a fire extinguisher.
Yes.
And I'm going to say there's people out there as well that are very intimidated by a live fire. So they'll go through the classroom, but they won't actually physically use the extinguisher. Whereas with the digital training system, of course, there's no fear.
Yeah.
So away we go, and they come out of there better trained because of it. So it's a great system.
And peace of mind for the owner, just knowing that people are well trained. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And if you want to be course certified, part of your course certification is being trained in these things. So it keeps your core certification going. And lastly, I'm going to talk about housekeeping. It's your wheelhouse. But I think it's a good one to end on because housekeeping is so important. And you start thinking about things that are blocking doors so that when people need to get out of a building in a hurry, or even when guys are coming in to inspect and test and they can't get into a room because it's so full of boxes that they can't test devices, so they don't know if they're working or not. If a room is full of, I'll say, boxes and things like that, can the sprinkler system get the water to where it needs to go?
Yeah, that's true.
All those different things. How does the poor housekeeping impede the system's ability to perform? And that's important. So again, like I say, this is your wheelhouse. You know how important it is to have things clean.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And really, those are kind of my nuggets for today.
Thank you. Holy, those weren't just nuggets. Those are like the full-on gold mine here.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, he will be returning again when the cycle goes around. He'll keep coming back and he'll just keep dropping them gold nuggets for you. And wow, thank you so much. I learned something for every single one of those points today.
Great.
Thank you so much.
No, I'm glad to share. And you know what? I really appreciate you having me on because I think these are important points. And I think it's so vital for us to get that out and get the message out to people.
Yes.
And a lot of times we don't have the opportunity to share like this. So I think what you're doing with the show here is fantastic. It really is.
And for those who don't know, Rob here has Into the Fire, his series as well. Go check it out on his LinkedIn page. He drops a bunch of information bombs there too, way more than I am. But so the link will be in our description for his page so that you can check out his series called Into the Fire, which I think is a clever name. Who came up with that?
I did.
I love it. I love it.
You know what? And it has been a great show. We've been getting fantastic response on it. In that one, we don't spend as much time talking about fire protection. We talk about business development, developing your people, culture.
Oh yeah.
The dangers of distraction was one of the episodes. And all kinds of different things that are about business and making sure that we have the right people. And you know how important. You know what?
Yeah.
You've got a staff. I mean,
yeah.
And you want the best staff
for sure.
When you're in the position that we're in, our job is to grow those people to be the best they can be.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So that's what Into the Fire is all about. So yeah, check us out on YouTube. It's under Bison Fire, or as you said, LinkedIn. It's actually launching this week on a podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and of course on Facebook and Twitter and all that. We're easy to find.
Yeah.
And if you need to call us at the office, especially about this recall, you can call the office at 237-3473. The gentleman, the expert, the king of the world when it comes to fire protection and fire alarm systems is Larry Stadnick. Ask for Larry. Again, the number 237-3473, or visit us online at bisonfire.com.
Nice. So if they wanted to get in touch with you in particular, would that be the number for them to reach?
Same number.
Nice.
Same number. It's very easy. I'm easy to find. I really am.
You are everywhere. Just like you said, you're on podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. You got all the social media coverage
Absolutely, for sure. No, and it's great. And I really love responding to comments on the shows. Anything that comes back. It's always great to have a conversation and educate people. That's really what we're all about. And if we have these kind of conversations, as I said earlier, we're making the world a safer place. I'm sure you're making the world a cleaner place. But working together, you're doing the same thing. And one of the reasons I wanted to come on your show was for that, because I think you're sharing a great message.
Well, thank you. And you know what, your points in particular, I've been in the industry for 5 years, and yet I still obtain something new from every single point that you mentioned today, which is amazing. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks again for coming on to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Until we meet again. So till next time, that's all we have for today. Go with the pro. Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Winnipeg Business Podcast. If you know anyone you think would make a perfect guest for the show, please send them to the winnipegbusinesspodcast.com. Have them fill out the form, and someone from our team will get back to them ASAP. Till next time.